Hey, how is it going? In today's video, we will be talking about some things that you should probably start using as soon as you start programming in Python, but will realize much later. Today, you will find answers to what is a Python virtual environment, why you need to use Python virtual environment, how to work with Python virtual environments, and some small user talk. So let's get going. The first question, what is a Python virtual environment? So, to simply put, it is a Python tool which serves as a separator or isolator. It makes isolation between versions of Python or side packages and libraries you use for your projects. I don't think it will be wrong to assume that a Python virtual environment is like a folder for Python, same as the folders you create to organize or manage your, let's say, photos by date. If you think about virtual environments, it might be a better comparison. Next, why do you need to use virtual environment in the first place? So now imagine you are developing a website using Flask framework. Flask is a web framework. So you are using Flask framework for two different clients. One client is comfortable with their existing web application, which you initially built using older version of Flask 1.1.4 with Python 2.7, and that the same client refuses to update the project to a later Flask version. And another client wants you to use a new and fast async functionality, which is the equivalent synchronous function of older versions of Flask in their website. But the problem is the new async function is only available starting from Flask 2.0 and requires Python 3.6 or newer versions. If you installed Flask globally on your system folder without virtual environment, you could only have one of the two versions installed, which might not be for your best interest. Once you start working with different projects, you might have to use different versions of the same package. For that reason as well, you need to use virtual environments. So let me show you what I mean. So let me clear my screen. I have already pip installed, let me show you, pip show Flask, right? So as you can see, I have Flask version 2.0.0 is installed. I want, let's say, the newer version of Flask. So if you go to this website and if you go to the release history, you can see all the releases. So mine is 2.0.0, which was released on May 12th in 2021. But I want to use the latest version, right? Released on August 9 of 2022. The version number is 2.2.2. So let me install it. pip3 install Flask 2.2.2. Okay, successfully installed Flask 2.2.2, right? So as you can see, now let me clear my terminal. Now let's see, pip3 show me Flask. Now it's updated to the latest version, but the problem is my older version is gone, right? So I don't have two versions of the same package. That is a problem. I don't want that to happen, right? Now, before I talk further about this topic, let me explain you the terminologies called global and local using Python. So let me open my days. So let me clear this up. So now let's declare variable called var1 and assign a value called hello. And I'm going to assign another value to the same variable, but another value, right? So save. So I have hello on variable 1, and then I have assigned hi to the same variable. Now if I print the result, instead of getting hello and hi separately, I only get hi, right? Because hi is coming after the hello value, right? As you understand, the whenever you write program, it reads from top to bottom. So computer reads as if like you put your finger on number 1 and you go one by one to bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, right? So as number 2, the second line is a newer line than the first line. So it only accepts the latest value of variable 1. If I move this variable, let me cut this and put it here. Now, instead of hi, we get hello, right? So now we are declaring this variable 1, right, as global variable, right? Which means whenever from any part of any line number of this application, we can access variable 1, right? But now let me show you another thing. So let me declare a function with f, right? I'm going to use again the same variable name, yeah? And I'm gonna say, I am gonna smash the like button. I'm gonna smash the like button, right? And I'm gonna print. So what I want my function to do is just to print out the value of 1, of variable 1, right? So now let me call out our function, right? So if I run this, run without debugging, so it gives me print variable 1, global variable, the value of it is hi, even though we are using the same name, yeah? It's just printing out, I'm gonna smash the like button. So what is happening right now is inside the function, our variable 1 is declared as local variable, right? But the variable 1 outside the function is declared as global variable. So I'm gonna declare variable 1 again and assign different value. I'm gonna subscribe to this channel, right? Now if I run this, instead of hi, it's printing out, I'm gonna subscribe to this channel. And our function value, function action print, I'm gonna smash the like button, right? So you understand very well about the global and the local variables if you programmed in Java or C++, right? So similarly to Python's global variable and local variable, right? Python folder structure has a global folder called side packages in which all the external modules, aka packages you download, is saved into that folder. Meaning that if you think of any packages you are going to install as variables, a virtual environment makes it as local. Okay, I hope you understood it a little bit. Another reason to use Python virtual environment is as it makes isolation. It helps you avoid system pollution. Linux and macOS come pre-installed with a version of Python that the operating system uses for internal tasks. If you install packages to your operating system's global Python side packages folder, these packages will mix with the system relevant packages. This mix-up could have unexpected side effects on tasks, probably crucial to your operating system's normal behavior. Additionally, if you update your operating system, then the packages you installed might get overwritten and lost, so you don't want either of these headaches to happen to you. So now let's talk about some practical stuff, right? Enough talk. In order to use Python virtual environment, the first step is to download the necessary components. Let me clear my screen. So if you're using macOS or Linux, you can use this command. Sudo apt-get install Python 3. I haven't changed the name of Python 3 version to Python. If you have already changed, you don't have to type Python 3, but I prefer this always writing Python 3. It makes it clear to me which version of Python I'm working on. So python3.venv, right? I have already installed inside my YouTube project folder. So assuming you have already installed the necessary components, packages, now let's create a Python virtual environment. So Python 3-m venv, this is an attribute command, and this venv is the name of your Python virtual environment. You can put any name, right? So let's hit enter. It's going to take some time. As you can see, now I have procpy, which is already created, and the venv newly created file, a Python virtual environment, right? So now we created. Now let's start it. Let's activate it, right? In order to activate, we need to initialize a script. So if you go into here inside the venv folder, let's go to this bin. You have all the script files, right? So we need to activate this. We need to set off this activate script file. So in order to do so, let me go back. Inside my project folder, I'm gonna type. Oh, what's happening? Source project virtual environment name. In our case, venv. So we are going to the bin folder. Inside the bin folder, we have activate script file. So we are going to set it off. So activate. Okay. Now one thing has changed in our terminal window. So we have now extra venv. This is the name of our Python virtual environment. It's added. It's showing us that we have activated our virtual environment. So installing packages in it is as usual. Just type Python or Python 3 and pip install package name, so whatever, right? And to activate it, you just type deactivate. Now this venv is gone. So if you don't like the name venv, you can use any other name. So now let's talk about customizing your virtual environment a little bit, right? So clear. So let's say Python 3 m venv any name, right? Any name. Okay, we created a new Python virtual environment called any name. As you can see, we have any name new environment, right? So, but you can give any name to your Python virtual environment, but I would suggest you to stick in this conventional name called venv, because it is globally standard name, and it also, how to say, saves you from other like headaches, such as like changing the .git ignore file, right? Whenever you're uploading your, how to say, your source folder or downloading to your project folder from GitHub, right? So, and also once you have many Python virtual environments, you might have a hard time go to your project directory folder to activate it, because you might have to forget the name of your virtual environment. So instead, you just name all the virtual environments as venv and just remember it as source venv /bin/activate, and you can activate all your project folders. But I understand this naming venv and always having venv in this terminal kind of not comfortable and not easy to understand with which Python virtual environment you are working on. So instead, what you can do is just give a description. So for example, Python 3 m venv. I'm just gonna name my new virtual environment again as venv, but I'm gonna give a prompt as hello, right? Okay, now source venv bin activate. As you can see, I needed to put only one equal sign. As you can see, instead of having here venv, I have here hello description, right? So it makes it easier for us because we know with which, how to say, Python virtual environment folder we are working with, right? So In order to deactivate, again we type deactivate. Okay, but one thing you need to be careful, if you have noticed, right, I recently created venv with prompt key. Instead of having two venv folders, I only have one venv, right? Because when I create Python 3 venv, instead of creating a new venv folder, yeah, it just keeps overwriting the previously created venv folder. So one problem is it doesn't give you any warning or any notification. It just overwrites the previously created venv folder. Right? So this is something you need to be careful. So if you want to delete it, as usual, you can just remove it. Yeah, venv. Or if you want to start over from the beginning, you can just type Python 3 venv clear. What did I do here? Ah, sorry. No, I don't need this one. Yes. So it clears the venv file. Now let's talk about how it actually works, right? So this venv folder mimics the Python base folder structure. And when you activate it, the symlinks, the symbolic links, point to your project folder directory instead of Python folder, global side packages folder, right? So let me show you what I mean. So without activating, let me initialize Python. I'm going to import system from print import print has print. So I'm going to import pepperint module. This is basically very similar to print. Now I'm going to print out my system path, right? So as you can see here, whenever I create .py folder and type code and import some kind of module, my source code, my interpreter, my IDE looks for these locations, right? So it looks for this username, library, Python 3.8 lib side packages folder. And whenever I install some kind of new packages, it is installed inside this package folder, right? So this is a scenario without activating, without using Python virtual environment. But if I use Python virtual environment, something is gonna change, right? I'm gonna again start Python 3, import system from print import print. Now look, one thing has changed. Instead of looking inside the users library Python 3.8 Python side packages, yes, this is a global folder, it is looking inside my project folder. So inside the project, YouTube, right? Inside this virtual environment folder, right? It's looking inside this side packages folder, right? So what virtual environment does is like a switch to your light. Yeah, it's channeling the location path, right? When you activate it, it looks inside your virtual environment folder. When you deactivate it, your IDE looks for the global side packages folder. Okay. All right. So now let me show you what is inside my virtual environment. What kind of packages do I have, right? So I have only two packages, yeah, inside my virtual environment folder. It's clean. Whenever you create it, you will also have at least two these packages, yeah, nothing else. But if I deactivate and if I check my global side packages folder, I have these extra packages, right? More than two. So if let's say I want to use this Jinja 2 package from my Python virtual environment, and I don't want to reinstall it again because I already have inside my global site packages folder. What can I do is just give access to my global site packages folder whenever I'm creating a new Python virtual environment, right? Using this key -- system -- site -- packages. So whenever I create using this keyword, including this keyword, it gives me access to the global site packages folder. So if I activate my virtual environment and check the list of my packages, now I have more than 2 site packages, right? So now, like, you can see the difference. This is the global site packages pip3.list without activation of virtual environment. If you see, for example, my pip, yeah, it is the latest version. Now I activated my source, my Python virtual environment. After activation, instead of showing 2, it shows me more than 2. It also shows the global site packages, but there are some changes. If you look at the pip, I have the older version of the pip, right? So it keeps the already existing packages inside your Python virtual environment, but gives you access to global site packages. So it's a one-way relationship, right? So whenever I install new packages, I'm installing it right now inside my Python virtual environment, but I cannot delete or I cannot install while my Python virtual environment is activated. I cannot install new packages to the global site packages folder whenever my virtual environment is activated. Okay, but you might be questioning, but if you have already created your virtual environment and later decided you need to use global site packages, you can manually change the config file, right? So in order to do so, you need to go to your config file. So this is the venv folder we are working on, and this is the configuration file. If you open it, it's going to be like this. Now it says includes system side packages. It shows true. If I change this to false, right, and check the list of pip list, it shows only 2 packages. Yeah, if I change it to true, I'm changing the access now to true. Now I can have access to global site packages as well. Okay, yes, and another useful tip I want to show you is how to install or share environment installations. So imagine you are working on some kind of project and you want to share it with your friends or with whoever you want on the GitHub, right? So you only need to upload on the GitHub your source code, not the packages you are using to the GitHub, because the file size becomes very big and it is unnecessary. And instead, what you can do is just tell others what kind of external packages you are using, right? In order to do so, what you can do while your Python virtual environment is activated, you can do Python 3 pip freeze, right? I'm going to write all the names of the external packages I'm using inside the requirements.text file, no module named freeze. Sorry, I forgot here, pip, right? So now we have created and wrote all the external packages we are using inside the text folder. As you can see, all the external packages we are using is installed inside the requirements folder, right? And once you upload this requirements.txt file onto the GitHub, whoever wants to use your project, who wants to try out your source code, they just download this requirements.txt folder, and what they do is python 3 pip install requirements.txt. Once I enter, it's going to automatically install all these external packages you use for your project from the internet, right? Okay, now let's talk about managing virtual environments. Okay, so basically, virtual environment folder is just a folder structure, mimics the Python folder structure, right? It contains the symbolic links, symlinks, short links, and you can put it anywhere you would like. However, there are two popular methods of where to keep it. One is inside each individual project folder. For example, in my case, I created inside my project folder called YouTube. Or in a single location, for example, in a subfolder of your home directory. Yeah, you can create one folder inside your home directory called, for example, environments, and inside the environments folder, you have all the virtual environments listed. Yeah, both of them have their own kind of merits, conveniences. If you keep your virtual environment folder inside each of the individual project folder, it's going to help you keep track of, how to say, names of the virtual environments. And if you create all the virtual environments inside one folder, it's going to help you keep track of the number of virtual environments you have on your machine. Yeah, both of them have kind of conveniences. It really depends on your preference how to use it. There are also alternatives to this venv. Instead of, you can use Anaconda. Anaconda is also a popular third-party package manager, or another one being is virtual env. It is also similar to Anaconda and venv, but venv is officially recommended by the Python. Yeah, but all of them are good. Yeah, some of them have some preferences, extra comfortability. Yeah, so in conclusion, that was pretty much it for today's video. We have talked about how Python virtual environment works and what it is. I hope you have learned something new in today's video, and stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you.